If you've noticed that there has been breaking news every single day, on the day, multiple times a day, for the last month, you aren't alone. And yes, this is by design.
So what we've got to do is just hit, and keep it. It's momentum. The opposition party is the media. And the media can only, because they're dumb and they're lazy, they can only focus on one thing at a time. And the one thing they'll mainly focus on is either they do the horse race, or once the horse race, who's in, who's out. Right. It's like the high school, who are the cool kids in the cafeteria, right? Because it's easy. It's the reason they do the horse race stuff all the time, right? And they won't do the basic, what are the core things that are going on in the country? I said, all we have to do is flood the zone. Every day we hit them with three things. They'll bite on one and we'll get all of our stuff done. Bang, bang, bang. These guys will never be able to recover. But we got to start with muzzle velocity. So it's got to start, it's got to hammer. It's got to muzzle velocity. You got it. When you get anything in life, remember the house is 5 to 7 against, right? To get something done, you've got to go through these certain stages of momentum and keep forcing it. And so otherwise, just pure inertia, right? Or the loss of energy.
Just because we know that, and we know that that is what they're trying to do, it doesn't make it any less imperative to point out the things that they are doing. One of the things that Elon Musk is doing right now is trying to figure out ways to fire federal workers. So the latest thing that he's been doing is forcing them to respond to an email asking them what their weekly accomplishments were. If they do not respond, he takes that as a resignation.
Musk initially posting on X, all federal employees will shortly receive an email requesting to understand what they got done last week. Failure to respond will be taken as a resignation. Several hours later, Musk posting, "The bar is very low here. An email with some bullet points that make any sense at all is acceptable." Sources tell ABC top officials at the White House were caught off guard, and many federal agencies, from the State Department to NASA, are urging employees to hold off responding. Newly installed FBI Director Kash Patel telling employees to pause on responding to the email. And overnight, President Trump praising the latest moves from Musk.
Elon is doing a great job. He's doing a great job.
And Trump has been praising this. Not only has he been praising this, but he's also praising the firing of 4-star generals in favor of a 3-star general.
I've ended all of the so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion programs across the entire federal government and the private sector, and notified every single government DEI officer that their job has been deleted. They're gone. They're fired. You're fired. Get out.
And the fallout continues after Trump fired the nation's top military leadership, ousting General C.Q. Brown as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, alongside several other senior leaders. Brown, a 4-star fighter pilot, has come under fire as Trump aims to rid the military of leaders who support diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, as Brown and some of the others who were fired had done. Trump nominating as his replacement Dan Kane, a retired 3-star Air Force general who has never served in a 4-star position. Senator Jack Reed, the top Democrat on the Armed Services Committee, slamming the move as part of a premeditated campaign by President Trump and Secretary Hegseth to purge talented officers for politically charged reasons, which would undermine the professionalism of our military and send a chilling message through the ranks.
On the merits, right? If they were actually hiring on the merits and this just wasn't a race thing, then the 4-star general with actual experience would trump the 3-star general with no experience as a 4-star in that position. So whenever they tell you that they're hiring on the merits, no, they're just hiring because the person is a straight white male. Let's just get that very clear. For the people down in the comments who always like to say, no, we need to go back to merit-based, and it's not merit-based, you're just being hired because you're Black, or you're just being hired because you're LGBT, or whatever it is that they decide they want to believe to make it so they can sleep better at night. No, they are not hiring on the merits, because if they were hiring on the merits, then the 4-star general would be hired above the 3-star general. But note the color of the 4-star general versus the color of the 3-star general. Hiring on the merits to them means, no, you're going to hire on the fact that he's white, so he's inherently thought of as more qualified, even though he is not. And the Black 4-star general, who has more qualifications, is fired for the same position. That is what they are trying to do. That is it in a nutshell, them getting rid of the DEI, or rather what it is actually called, the DEIA, A for accessibility, for disabled people. That is what they are getting rid of. So let's just be clear about that. But something has been happening in Republican town halls lately that has been absolutely hilarious.
When will you stand up to them and say that is enough?
Fraud and abuse that has been discovered already.
I can't understand 10 people, let alone 100 people.
They said it's your budget, not the president. And you are doing us a disservice to set that down and not stand up for us. And
All this stuff will be litigated.
On right now today is the House of Representatives and the Senate are totally abdicating their responsibility to protect on the executive. You stand here and say, I'm not sure about that, or I'm not sure about that. You put up, frankly, some of these slides are very misleading. Let's talk about the Trump tax cut. How much of that deficit in that jump from 22 up was the tax cuts to the incredibly rich people of the world who are now in our White House and dismantling our government? You are an attorney. You are an officer of the court, in addition to swearing an oath to our Constitution, and yet, well, you and so many of your colleagues are just sitting around watching. Well, I don't know, we'll see what happens next month. Oh, those workers have rights, and yes, they've been violated, so now they're getting processed. Our courts can't handle this. These people have planned this for years, and they are doing it. It is a fire hose of action. Illegal actions that even you acknowledge right here, but we'll just worry and let the courts sort it out. There won't be a country left to run, sir, if you guys just sit back and are afraid of a primary.
I'm a registered Republican voter and retired active Army officer. How can you tell me that Doge, with some college whiz kids from a computer terminal in Washington, D.C., without even getting out into the field, after about a week or maybe two, has determined that it's okay to cut veterans' benefits?
I think a couple things. Let me give you an example. Did you know that the VA was in charge of payments for illegals for housing? Basically, the VA.
No, I'd like for you to send me. Could you send me that reference so I could research that? Because no, I'm not aware of that. And I would tell you that that's a red herring, a false flag. If you're throwing that kind of political stuff up, trying to cut veterans' benefits, that's very alarming to me.
President Trump has issued a lot of executive orders. I think by and large this is moving very quickly compared to other administrations, and I think across the board he's done some very good things. I think he's gotten rid of birthright citizenship.
illegal as hell.
Watching these Republicans squirm as they are being yelled at by their constituents has made my entire week. They're trying to do all of these things at once and trying to justify the firing of federal employees and all the things that they are not supposed to be doing, that Congress is supposed to be reining them in on. And they're not, because they 100% agree with everything that is going on. This is why it is important that Congress, when you go to the voting booth, is something that you think about. Voting just for the President of the United States has never been something that is good for you as an actual citizen of this country. When it comes to the presidency, what is supposed to happen is the president has more power over foreign policy, which that is a video all in itself. But Congress is the one that is supposed to pass the laws and be a check on the executive branch. They are not doing that. The judicial branch, the courts, are working double time, and they are 10 toes down, most of them, on what the law is actually supposed to be. And so they are working not only the Congress's job, but their own as well. And Elon Musk and Doge and Kash Patel and Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump are already gunning for our judges, the judges that are standing up for our rights. So what can we do about the Congress? Well, we've just seen people making the congressmen stand up and listen to what they are saying. But what else can we do? Florida, looking at you, we can replace 2 people in the House on April 1st. District 1 and District 6 are 2 House seats that are up for a special election right now. Vote. Florida, you can flip the House on the 1st of April. There is another one sometime in June in New York. So if you're in New York, I believe it's upstate New York, look into that one. I believe that one is June 1st. You can vote to put a Democrat in the House, and we may be able to put a check on the executive branch in the House. Okay, so that's something that you can do, but 2026 is also on the way. So if we last that long, we can take care of the Congress then as well and flip the House and the Senate and make my man a lame duck well before then. Because all of the things that they are doing, all of the firings that they are having, all of the things that they are cutting from Medicare and Medicaid and firemen and veterans and all of these things, FEMA, as Detroit is frozen under 3 feet of ice after a flood. Trapped in their house and the government won't help them. Where are the people that were talking about FEMA when it came to North Carolina? But I digress. They're doing all of that stuff so that they can pass a $4.7 trillion tax cut for the rich. They are taking our money, our taxpayer money, so that they can give themselves tax breaks. And none of that is coming back to us. Our wages aren't going to get higher. Our goods are not going to end up doing anything. When it comes to job creation, that's not going to happen either. That is what they are doing with our money. We have a chance. April 1st in Florida. I believe it's June 1st in New York. And 2026 to lame duck this president. We have 3 chances to lame duck this president before the next presidential election. Let's go.